Did 2 interviews last week, and we're interviewing our third finalist this evening, and then we'll have a discussion on how we're going to go about, excuse me, the rest of the way. So with that, we have Candace Goldman with us tonight, and why don't you come up?
Skip the Pledge of Allegiance?
What?
Skip the Pledge of Allegiance?
Just for tonight, a special board meeting. Okay? Yep, come right up. Charlie Case,
Nice to meet
Chair of
you.
the board.
Greg?
Greg O'Sullivan.
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you, Madam.
Okay.
Welcome, Candace. Thanks for coming today. How do you pronounce your last name?
Oh, like Vermont. Unless you feel like it's French, then we can really put some
Vermont.
Vermont.
Vermont, okay.
Okay.
John, I turn this out to like here.
Yeah, turn it down, I
Is
got
that
that.
possible?
Yeah.
Unless somebody else has a problem.
No, I don't have a problem.
You sit over here.
Maybe just the fan, not the...
Can you hear? No?
You can lower the fan without lowering the fan.
Can we turn, I don't want to be instructing anybody, but.
I just did turn it
Yeah, can we
down.
turn, these people can't hear us. Can we turn it off? Is that possible? Is that gonna be?
Okay, so welcome. What we are, as I alluded to a few minutes ago, what we are working on is, the last of the interviews on the position. You're one of 3. We have interviewed the other 2. Just like to let you know, this is a live meeting, it's being televised. And it's a full open meeting. I don't see any press coverage here, but that doesn't mean it won't be. But I just wanted to let you to the fact we do not have a timeline as to when we might formally make this decision, but I don't think it will be too far down the road. We've been running since since late January, and with Phil as our able acting town administrator. So we have a series of questions. They've been all asked of the other candidates. They're basically the same questions. There may be a little give and take here and there along the way. So I guess I can turn it over to
All right,
Phil.
well, we have 11 listed questions. The first one is, why you were interested in working for the town of Barry?
Before I answer that, can I just thank you all for granting me the ability to interview
Okay.
tonight. I appreciate the thoughtfulness
Yeah.
of allowing me another day. I did have a conflict.
Okay. Thank you.
Why am I interested in Barry? I live in the Hardwick side of Ware on Church Street. I have frequented Barry on and off, often of 8 at Cozy Cabin, Barry Mills. Occasionally I have stayed at Colebrook Campground, several occasions throughout the years. I have an affection for this town. That's my personal reason for applying. My professional reason is that I am at a point in my professional career where I'm ready to take the next step up. I have a master's degree in public administration from Clark University. I have worked for the town of Wilbraham for the past 5 years as the administrative assistant in the Board of Selectmen's office to the Board of Selectmen and the town administrator. We've kind of gone over some turnover my first 2 years in that position. I worked under Bob Weitz, who is a well-respected person in the town administrator field. He took me under his wing, mentored me, he retired. I picked up some of the town administrator tasks. I ended up being appointed as the chief procurement officer, even though it was under the town administrator's job description. I am now a certified associate mass public purchasing official in the state, and I continue to take that even though we have hired a new town administrator who's been there for about 2 years. Every year since Bob White's retired, I've taken on a little bit more of a town administrator job, to the point where this year I actually was the one that put together, with the assistance of the department heads, providing me with articles, put together the town warrant. I've always done the logistics and organizations, coordinating the town meeting at the schools and so forth. For me, this is a natural progression. In my job now, I love the town of Wilbraham, but professionally, I feel stagnant. I'm not being challenged anymore, so now I know it's time for me to step up and find a position. This is the first town administrator position I've actually applied for. And the reason I applied for this position is because for me, it's not about 9 to 5, get a paycheck. It's about doing something that I enjoy and love and feel called to do, but also caring enough about the community to do it in that community. So I've seen a lot of town administrator positions that have come up. Deerfield came up, which would be a equivalent position for someone in my position to step up into. But it didn't have that pull for me. Barry does, and this is why I'm here today. And I'm really appreciative that you gave me the opportunity to do this.
Next question. How does your background correlate with the requirements of the position?
Well, professionally, I started out working in the state legislature under State Senator Mignani, who used to be the former state senator in Framingham. It was one of those situations where you were in the right place at the right time. I worked as his office manager there in the State House. Then I went on and when I moved out to Western Mass, Central Western Mass, I worked for State Representative Gil Kinderas. I've spent probably about 7 years working in the state legislature. I feel like my skills that I've learned how the state process works. I've had many interactions working with community groups in towns. For example, when I was working for State Representative Kinderas, she covered East Long Meadow, and at the time they were trying to obtain money and grants to renovate and build their library. And they were having some difficulties between the state and the Mass Board of Library Commissioners. And I actually sat in a lot of their meetings, mediating and helping them through the process, and they eventually, got their grant money and built their library, which is absolutely beautiful. But I like that interaction. I liked doing the constituent work and working with the public. I also liked working with the towns. Moving on, I kind of expanded my interest in working, doing community work. When I was right when I was working for Gil Kinderas, and maybe a little bit after when I had left that position, I was living in Springfield, and I was one of the, I got elected to the Indian Orchard Citizens Council. So like you, I have that perspective of being an elected official and working to help a community and really improve that community, and listening to the citizens and working with the government to improve that community. During that time as well, I also, it was one of those situations where I got involved with the Indian Orchard Main Street Partnership, and they asked me on to the board of directors. And I got to the meeting, and it was one of those things where, well, we don't have a president, he just stepped down, and everybody took a step back, and I was still up front because it was my first meeting, and landed in the presidency to find out that the Main Street Partnership was pretty much defunct, didn't have any money to pay their director, and their grant cycle was coming to an end, so you had to reapply for a new grant. I ended up, working with the city. I ended up being the one who wrote the community block grant, which we ended up getting awarded, and it was the entire operating cost for that partnership. They're still in existence today. Did a lot of work during that time, worked with State Representative Petrolati to secure $100,000 in the budget for that intersection in Indian Orchard, which was something the partnership was working on. I have a strong, I know I'm long-winded, I apologize, but I have a strong passion for economic development and community development and planning. And one of the things that really kind of attracted me to Barry was the fact that this is a small community and you have a lot of regional services. And you work a lot with the government in order to help get additional revenue and so forth. And I feel like a lot of my experience back then and then now in Wilbraham, as working as the assistant, really kind of working with the various different departments. I work with all the departments in Wilbraham. I also I put together the town warrant, I understand how the open town meeting government process works, I understand how it relates to the state. I've had hands-on in all of that, so for me, this is a nice fit, and this is really kind of why I had an interest in coming here. Having that knowledge and that experience and expertise, I think, is compatible to what you're looking for.
How do you see the role of the select board in relationship to the town administrator's role?
The select board is the policy-making, decision-making board for this town. They're elected by the voters. They represent the voters. To me, this isn't just government. This is the residents of Barry's who pay taxes. This is their business. This business runs all the services in their town. It also takes care of the financial piece to running the town. So it's almost like you're the board of directors and I'm the person that helps oversee and work with you. And what my job and role would be to you, I would do all the research for you. I would provide you with the research. I would give you my recommendation with in mind that I'm coming from the perspective of what's the best interest in the town as well as your organization, which is this government. And I present that to you. I'm neutral though. You're the decision makers. But I definitely would give you a recommendation of what I thought would be in the best interest, just so that you had something else to think of on top of all the research. I would also give you both sides. I wouldn't just give you my viewpoint of what the best interest is, but I'd also give you the opposing side so that you're fully informed, so that you can make a very good decision for the community.
What are your strengths and weaknesses?
My strengths. I am very detailed oriented. I have very good organizational skills. I'm a people person. I don't know if you could tell that already. I am a peacemaker though. Although I'm not afraid of conflict, I don't like conflict. So I do try to facilitate and mediate and pull groups together, and I've been very successful in the past of being able to collaborate groups to work towards a goal and so forth. My weaknesses, I need to learn how to say no sometimes. I tend to get to be a little bit of a workaholic, which is to the detriment of my own family. So that's probably my biggest weakness. Not so bad for you, if I were to hire, but not so good for the family.
Where do you see yourself professionally 5 years from now?
I will be in a town administrator position 5 years from now. If I'm hired in Barry, I would probably still be in Barry. I'm not a jumper. I'm not looking to jump around. I want to be in a community that I feel comfortable in, that I enjoy doing the work I love. I'm not yet ready to retire, but I'm definitely looking for a job that I can stay into and then retire. So I'm not a jumper.
What experience do you have in supervision, grant writing, and budget preparation?
Supervision. When I worked for the Association for Community Living, I ran a $1.5 million program in Springfield. I had 50 employees underneath me. I also had 8 direct reports who were managers. Prior to that, when I worked for State Representative Gail Kinderis, I was her chief of staff, so I did supervise her staff, but obviously it was a much larger scale. When I worked for the Association for Community Living, nonprofit, we had high staff turnover, so very much involved in doing team building, developing staff. I believe strongly in situational leadership. I'm not sure, are you familiar with situational leadership? It's kind of like a chart where if this is a new person that doesn't know what to do, you work with them by directing them. And as they learn, you start easing up until you get them to the point where you can delegate and do your job successfully. But there's always these checkpoints. I believe strongly in that. I don't think anybody ever should come to the seat and find out they're doing something wrong and lose their job. They should know why they're sitting in that seat. You know what I mean? So I believe strongly in working with the employees. When I worked at the Association for Community Living supervising, I had a number of experiences where I had to deal with employee issues, whether it was poor performance, whether it was a mental health issue, whether it was theft, whole range of things. I am very cognizant of the fact that when you get into those type of situations, you need to have really strong policies, and that's your guideline. And you need to take those policies and address it to the performance. And you have to think about what's in the best interest of the organization. People can be great people, but when you're overseeing an organization, a business or a government, you're thinking what's in the best interest of my organization. So you have to keep that in mind when you do certain disciplinary or supervisory things. But I believe strongly in it. I think it's key important to maintain employees because you put time and effort, you put money into those employees, and that's your base. Grant writing, I spoke a little bit about grant writing. I did do grant writing for the Indian Orchard Main Street Partnership. I've done a little, nothing as significant in that in fiscal numbers, but I have done little grants. Maya, which is the insurance, do you have Maya here? Yeah. Maya is the insurance company, and oftentimes they'll offer risk strategy grants. I've done some of those in the past, but they were minimal amounts. I've also helped out, there's an animal organization that I believe in that is further out east that I've done, that I'm doing some work with grants and so forth. So I do have experience. I'm a little bit of a nerd. I like to write, so grant writing is exciting for me. Not maybe for most people, but it is for me.
How about budget preparation?
And budget preparation. I will tell you this, my experience, my direct experience with budget preparation has been at the Association for Community Living with that $1.5 million program that I oversaw. I did put together the budget for that program. We did have houses that require repairs, we did have vehicles, so I'm comprehensive about, I'm understanding about how to do debt exclusions, borrowing, and also, we also follow procurement. Now, jump ahead into Wilbraham. In Wilbraham, I don't directly put the budget together, but I do oversee the expenses and so forth in the Selectmen's office, and I do watch those figures. And that also includes town property line items. It also includes town office line items, town meeting line items. I often give those figures over, but whereas I work for the Selectmen, I witness and observe the whole process. So I do understand how the process works. A lot of times, some of the stuff that we're budgeting for requires procurement process, so I'm working through all that with them as well. I don't think that I would have an issue stepping out and working with department heads who have a strong handle on the budget to be able to get on board with it.
Have you ever had to discipline or fire someone? How did you go about it?
Yes, and I think I spoke about that a little bit. But again, I do follow policies. I do try to work with employees before you actually get to that point. My goal, my perspective is that if the employee is doing good, then the organization is doing good, and you're doing good. If the employee is doing bad, then you try to attempt to view if it's on you. Are you providing enough communication? Are you understanding where you're coming from? I like to work with employees. I like to meet with them regularly. I like to talk about performances or issues that they're having. I like to point things out as they happen, not 2-3 weeks later, when it's irrelevant at that point to that person. So I'm kind of systematic, but I do follow policies. I do follow ACTA policies, and I also, if you get into a certain point, then there are times when you do need to have labor council come in and kind of get a take so that the town is not in a liable situation. I have experienced that at the Association for Community Living, working with the labor council that they have there. But I've also seen that process happen in Wilbraham as well. I am not afraid to lead, and I'm not afraid to supervise.
Barry Town government has been in transition during the past year. What would you like to accomplish in the first 90 days on the job?
The first 90 days of the job. My first 2 hours on the job will be meeting people that come in this building and then querying her to find out exactly what status we're in as far as what happened with town meeting, where we are with the budget, what is now prioritized, and what is routine. My goal would be to meet with every single department head, get a status update on where their department is, what is the hot issues for them, what's coming up, what's routine, what do they need, what do they want from the town administrator, how do they want to work with it, what's the relationship been in the past as far as routine work, not personal, but routine work. I really want to get a very clear understanding. I call this nesting. When I first come in, my first 90 days will be nesting. It'll be learning what is going on, what is important right now, what are the tasks that are coming up, what's routine, what's not routine that's come up. I want to know everything that's going on in each department. My other thing, most importantly, was to meet with all of you, to get a take of what you're looking for, what your goals are, how do you want to plan out the year. At some point, it would be nice to look at strategic goals, what your goals are for the community, and see if we can start working towards some of that stuff. I also would like to, if the selectmen would be open to it, I would like to set up a meet and greet, meet some of the residents, the community volunteers. I think it's important to be out there so that they're not afraid to come into town hall and have open discussions. I believe strongly in an open door policy, whether it's someone who works here or whether it's a resident or someone who's on one of the committees. I think it's really important. So my game plan would be really kind of getting my feet and totally engulfed in the waters of Barry, and then seeing what needs to be addressed right away and then what we can work on, and really kind of developing those relationships with all the different parties in town.
Tell us about 1 or 2 accomplishments, either work or personal, that you're most proud of.
Work or personal? Personal, my family. I'm very proud of my family. Professionally, I've had, people think about accomplishments or things that they're really proud of, and it's these big things. I've had many little things that I'm very proud of. In Wilbraham, one of the things I'm very proud of is a few years ago when it was hard to get, there was a drive to really bring people to town meetings, that we had more than just barely squeezing by a quorum. I had worked with one community volunteer, and this was after the town had done they had done this process where they put together a vision task force, and they came up working with the community, doing different surveys. It was almost a 2-year process, and they came up with what the community wanted, and one of the things that came out of that was they wanted more information. So the whole idea of this community fest was to address getting information out to residents, as well as trying to encourage residents to come into town meeting. And what this looked like, it was not just, so an hour before town meeting, what we do at the Community Fest is we set it up so that we have different community groups. They can only be groups from that town, whether it's a committee, whether it's they have a women's junior club or the Girl Scouts, but it's all community related. They come in, they set up a table, and they give out information. It's a way for them to recruit, because we've had committees that have vacancies. It was a way for them to recruit and highlight what they've done and what they're doing to try to gather interest from other residents. We also would offer food, because a lot of times people are coming from jobs and they're going right to town meeting, and sometimes they'll skip it because they're hungry, they want dinner. So we would offer the ability for them to get something to eat as well. We would highlight student groups. We have musical groups come in from the students. The students would also offer babysitting during town meetings, so parents who had children had the ability to go to town meeting and have their children cared for very close by. On top of having this really kind of neat event to try to encourage people into town meeting, we also did kind of this PR blitz about town meetings. So about 6 weeks prior to town meeting, working with Turley Publications, every week we were coming out with articles. One would be about Community Fest. The next one would be about Article 54 in the town meeting warrant, showing both sides and what the opposing and for that particular article was. And we would hit each kind of controversial hot topic. And then we would also have some general information. So each week, people were getting blitzed with these articles in the paper, and Turley was allowing us space each time. So I'm very proud of that, and I think it has made a difference. We have seen a bit of an increase in people coming out to town meeting. Each year, we see more and more people and community groups kind of joining in for the community fest, and it's been a great success, I think. And I'm very proud of it.
Tell us about a difficult or challenging situation you had at work and how you handled it.
Challenging situation. I don't know if I've had an overly crazy challenging situation. I mean, there's challenging situations every day. You know, you go in thinking you're gonna do X, Y, and Z, and you end up doing A, B, C instead. And no matter how many hours you put in a day, that pile's still gonna be there the following day. I think one of the biggest challenges, I think the greatest challenge I've had, and actually I'm gonna jump out of municipal a little bit, but when I was working at the Association for Community Living, I had gone on a maternity leave for a few months. My first day back on the job was the day we got hit with a tornado. And I had people who were developmentally disabled that lived in homes in Springfield and Wilbraham, and the tornado went right through that path. And I'll tell you, that was probably one of the most challenging days in all of my professional career, making sure everybody was safe, trying to find people, trying to do the immediate insurance and relocating people. I had the Wilbraham house had the yard and so forth had a lot of damage from the tornado. But it was coordinating with the state, coordinating with insurances, coordinating with people and staff, and it was definitely a challenge, and it was a very long work day. It's definitely the biggest challenge.
The last question on the list is, what can you offer us that the other finalists cannot?
Well, I don't know a lot about the other finalists, so I'm just going to speak about myself. I already work in municipal government that has a very similar, it's an open town meeting form of government. It's the same form of government that you have here in Barry. I'm very familiar with it. I'm very familiar with how the state process works. I still have contacts in the state, whether it's state legislators or whether it's state agencies. So I'm very knowledgeable in that aspect. I'm not coming in green. There may be areas that I still need to be developed, but I can assure you I'm a quick learner and I can do the job. I already do parking clerk. I am already a chief procurement officer. I'm already certified as a procurement officer. I also, I think my legislative experience brings a whole different skill set that I think will be beneficial to Barry. On a personal note, I have a deep affection for Barry. I'm not here, like I said before, this is not a 9-to-5 job for me. I chose to apply for this position because I care for this community. So when I'm here, I'm not just doing what I need to do, there's heart in it. And I think that's something that I may bring differently than the other candidates may.
Okay. Do you gentlemen have any questions or? Matt?
Just bring up one thing. You kind of touched on it in some of your other comments. I'm only bringing it up because I also brought it up with the two previous candidates. I've kind of been just putting it out there, talking to different boards and just talking about the idea of developing like a well-written town plan that's kind of more of a centralized concept.
Like a master plan?
Yeah, like a master town plan. So this is, you know, you're pulling in your water department, you're pulling in your sewer department,
that's
your
a fantastic
zoning plan, and in our town level, which it sounds like you understand, you have an elected planning board, you have an elected sewer commission, elected water commission. So these aren't, you know, anybody that answered to you, but they're everybody you're gonna have to work with.
Yeah.
And kind of working with them and the town to get their input and how do we want to do this and carry forward. The planning board has had, been working with CMRPC to get assistance with a planner, a master planner, or whatever we call that individual. What was that role?
We got a shared planner.
A shared planner that we were getting some use from to help us with that. I think there's a lot of information already in place in each department or each board, but it doesn't necessarily all come together as one right now. And then tying that together with the capital plan. So I just wanted to put that out there that,
I think that's a fantastic idea, and it makes sense for Barry, because not only do you already have regional collaborations and some of the services that you offer, but the master plan is, one, strategically, it gives you a plan, a goal to kind of reach towards and work towards incrementally. But two, it opens up the other door for grant opportunities for you and other sources of revenue, having that master plan in place. And the thing about it, I've worked on a master plan. When the city of Springfield did a master plan, I was heavily involved with that, because at that point in time, I was sitting on the American Assistance Council, and I was working on the Main Street Partnership board, and we heavily worked with the city of Springfield doing that master plan. And I think one of the greatest things about that is that the community is involved in it, and they are giving their ideas. So it's an inclusive effort, everybody buys in, but it's a great tool. It offers other opportunities for you as far as revenue, so I think that's a fantastic idea. Curious, do you have an open space recreation plan here as well?
yeah.
Yep.
Like I said, we have
That's a nice
pieces,
little component
Yeah.
to it, yeah.
but bringing it together, I'm not sure where we're at. I don't even want to say we're not bringing it together, but it's something that I do believe the town administrator would have a key role, at least as the hub of the wheel.
To me, that's kind of exciting.
So,
Okay.
all right. I have no more to ask.
Greg, you have any?
How familiar are you with IT?
IT?
And what kind of hands-on do you have with that?
Office issues, I don't know how to get this on my computer, I'm very good at. I can check wires and stuff in the back, but if you're asking me to implement a whole new server system, that's way out of my expertise area.
Mine too, just ask.
But I'm not, I'm a little bit more swabby than some people. I'm not one who can lie fiber or put the server up. But I'm not afraid to try what I need to try to see if I can help either. And you have a regional IT director, though, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
We have an agreement with Rutland, and well, it's still Rutland, but they also provide our dispatch.
That would be definitely.
So they own that agreement, and we own the IT agreement, and it's kind of all intertwined.
Must be funded through the state 911 grant, through the.
I think they use
The
some
IT?
funds when they can.
Did some of the funding come through the
No.
regional dispatch?
No, that's a straight line item.
Nice,
Mhm.
actually, that's nice.
So their agreement for the regional dispatch, I think they do get some of the 911 to help fund that, and then they incorporate that in the assessment each town pays, so it helps us save some money as well when they're able to do that.
Speaking of people, the first 90 days, I think one of the most key persons to also meet would be the Rutland Town Administrator. It seems like you have a lot of collaboration with some of your
Yeah.
regional services.
We do. And we're picking up some more with some of our, like Hardwick and New Braintree also, so it's, just recently, we just started talking about that, so that's adding also. So yes, regionally, a couple of the town administrators would probably be good for you to.
I know that they have a small town administrators association that I
Mhm.
They
think
do.
has been quite
Yep.
beneficial out here.
They do.
Okay.
Okay. Just have a couple of comments and questions. As long as you're aware that the town administrator here is the budget director and the personnel administrator and whatever else I guess we can come up with from time to time. And then one other comment, I know you worked at the State House for, state senator and state rep. I think if you like that kind of work, you would find Barry to be
That's
a
what's-
very, very interesting town to work in, and a lot
That's
of.
one of the things that attract me to Barry.
Yeah,
I
that-
noticed that there's been a lot.
I mean, this is one of the rare times in the last 60 years that nobody from Barry has been in the state legislature.
I know.
And so, you know, it's a very interesting town politically. So if you're into that sort of thing, this is a fascinating town to be involved in. But that aside, I guess my question comes up. We have a couple of situations. I don't know if you're experiencing them in Wilbraham. I probably tend to doubt that you are. But we're in that group of communities across this country that is losing population. Losing population very, very fast. And it's putting tremendous stress on providing services, the tax bases, and I think it may have a little bit stabilized, but it's not really anything, it's not really significantly growing, I would guess. We have a regional school district. All these things get very complicated very fast because it's proportional student enrollments and so on. How do you see yourself dealing with these type issues?
I gotta say, your community is, the state trends in Massachusetts, it has a declining population across the board.
Yeah.
Central Mass and Western Mass, some of the smaller communities are getting hit with it. Wilbraham, where I work, is no different. They also have a regional school system, and this past
Oh, that's
year,
right. Yeah.
we have a declining population in the school system as well as we do in Wilbraham as well. It's a little bit, it's been a little bit stable in Wilbraham, but we have a declining population in the school system for sure.
Okay.
And that I know increases the assessments. So one of the things that they tried to do in Wilbraham, they only have the high school regionalized. They tried to regionalize the middle school to try to close some of the schools, to save some of the expenses and so forth. It didn't fly.
Mhm.
Wilbraham voted for it, the other community did not.
Mhm.
So it didn't happen. So then Wilbraham was impacted with increased assessments and so forth. It's a hard draw. There's two things immediate. You look at the school issue, and I know, having worked in Wilbraham, how touchy that is. You have a lot of different people at the table. Did you have 5 communities on your regional school system?
Yes.
5.
It gets complicated pretty
Yeah,
quickly
We
here.
only have 2 in
Two,
Wilbraham.
yeah,
and
that's
you
what I
have
thought.
5, and I imagine it must be mind-blowing. Because you have to collaborate with all the other different communities on different things, particularly if it's fiscal, because you're dealing with them, and I would assume you have a regional agreement with all of those communities.
Yeah.
So you're going back to the regional agreement. Now, do you also have some of the school buildings here that you maintain for the regional school system?
Yes, we're assessed for our local schools. The charges are directed back to like elementary. The regional high school, Quabbin, is dealt with through the regional school budget. But we're responsible for the buildings here, like Barry and so on.
So there are 2 things. I mean, long-term, first off, is looking at the school system and how you can deal with it. I know one of the ways that we kind of handle this in Wilbraham, and it may not work here, is we got to the point where, okay, we're gonna give you a 2% each year, but we're not going to be higher than 2%. That's it, it's just assessment. And they try to stick with that. And there's some strategic ways. I mean, the school does lease some of the
Yep.
buildings, but I mean, this is an ongoing problem. That's not gonna hold forever, I'm sure. The other long-term plan, and I think you're kind of on target with it, the master plan, because that also involves economic development too, and creating zones for economic development, is really kind of pulling in some of the economic development. Barry is a beautiful community. You have the ability, economic development-wise, looking at tourism. You already have people who come to Barry and I know we've had some issues with the camp and so forth, but that camp does draw people from outside the community to come in here and actually utilize some of your businesses here. It's looking at the community as a whole, which you could do through a master plan, and really kind of designating how you can tie this all. You have building foundation of potentially having a tourist industry and building off of that and recruiting. And then there's other ways. And I think your biggest employer here is it Seven Hills Foundation?
I'm not sure. It's either that or the Regional Health Center. But one of the, yeah. And actually, if you come right down to it, the school district is the largest by far. But, yeah, I'm not sure if it's Seven Hills or it used to be the Regional Health, UMass Memorial, but I don't.
Could be
I couldn't-
Insight as well.
It could be Insight up here, the road here, yeah.
Have you done any, I didn't, the earliest I could see some of the, I read the entire town report for 2015, but it was really difficult to find other stuff that wasn't in the newspaper since then.
Mhm.
So I have like the scab. And I'm not sure if you've done any economic development committees or initiatives yet in town. Has that been approached at all?
Well, in a way, with the grant that we had and the assistance from CMRPC, they started building the business
Is it Barry?
community of Barry or
Barry Business
some
Community.
similar name. I forget what they finally decided to name themselves.
It's kind of similar to like a chamber,
Yeah.
almost.
But
You know,
it was a start, right? It was a rebirth of a previous type of system they tried before, and they're trying to bring it back.
You know, I've seen in the past, you know, different governments working with groups such as that, like business associations, to really kind of try to help some of the economic development in certain areas that are zoned for that. But you guys are a diamond in the rough. You really are.
Mhm.
You have a lot of natural assets here that you could really capitalize. And I'm not talking about cutting them down or anything, but really utilizing that, you know, and trying to pull in some
Yeah.
economy and tourism and so forth. But you're right. I mean, the decreasing population is happening across the state. The smaller towns out here in central Mass and western Mass are the ones that are
Mhm.
getting hit hard.
Mhm.
So, I mean, to deal with some of that really is, you know, trying to come up with a game plan on how to work with the school system so that you can manage some of that assessment, or try to anyways, so it's manageable for Barry. But then also looking at different ways to capitalize on bringing in some other revenue and economic development into the
Right.
community without disrupting what you have. Because it seems to me that just from looking around and some of the work you've done, like renovating the common and doing that whole infrastructure there, I mean, that was years and years of work. You know, it seems to me that Barry is very proud of its open space, and it's proud of some of its natural, historic features. And there's a way to do that economic development without destroying the character of the town. So, you know, I think that's very feasible. And
Okay.
I've had some experience with master plans and working on economic development. You know, Main Street Partnership was an economic economic development driver for the downtown revitalization area. So I've had some experience in that. That stuff gets me excited.
Okay, Phil, did you have any other? Okay.
I did not, thank you.
Let me just, I've done this with the others, and I don't know, some people think it's maybe a little corny, but let me give you some reasons why you would like to come to Barry. I don't know if you...
You don't have to sell me, but go ahead.
Okay.
Listen.
Well, no, we don't have. Literally, I guess we don't have to do that. But I always have done that with some of our upper management people, either in different positions I've been in. But I think that one of the things that you'll find about Barry is that we have a tremendous amount of pride in our town. And you hear the term, you know, that term, sometimes it's misused, and we've had some pretty stormy waters here in the last, 24 months, but overall, the town is a very vibrant community, and whatever we've had, we seem to be coming together, and we're moving forward, and but there is a tremendous amount of pride. We have different villages, as you know, in Barry, just like most communities, and I think you see that in the other communities, and there's a very distinct history with the other villages that there is up on this end of town. So we're very proud of that. I think, just aside, I think a lot of people are very proud of agriculture. It's one of the largest 61A communities in the state with over 10,000 acres in it, and those type of things, and we have our cultural things going on. There's a lot of pluses, and despite us debating, I guess is a nice way to put it, with our school department, I think most people in Barry and across our school district would say we're very, very proud of our schools. We have spent, actually an awful lot of money, but there's a long tradition with a lot of the mill villages and stuff, people coming from other countries, particularly, I guess, more in, the later 20th century in Hardwick and Barry, but when the mills were running. But there's a tremendous pride in education, and I think despite we'll argue about, we don't really argue, but I think we're very, very proud of that. And if you go around town, you'll talk to people,
I would have to-
they're very proud of their school, and they say, we have a good school system.
I would have to agree with you. I mean, being one of the neighboring communities, I know people in Barry. I've been in Barry, and I would
Yep.
have to agree to you. It shows tremendously. And I'm blown away at how successful you've all been. I mean, you know, this is a small town. You struggle with the fiscal piece, but yet you were able to get a public safety building built. You were able to get a senior center built, which is gorgeous, by the way, absolutely beautiful. And the work you've done on the town common. And that, to me, I mean, just preserving that historic stuff. And I know that you offer a lot of, there's concerts up here too that you do for the communities and so forth. You know, it just amazes me the caliber of volunteers and community spirit. And that's one of the things
Okay.
I really like about this.
Okay, do you have any questions for us?
Do you have any questions for you?
We probably aren't going to be able to answer them, but we'll have,
No.
but if you do, we'll make sure we get you an answer.
Having that gap from 2015 to now, you know, I had a couple questions. I noticed, you know, in your 2015 report that you had been working on some solar stuff, net metering with another community, and having gone through that process in Wilbraham, we had put in a solar array on a landfill. I know that this is a little bit different. You're going off of another, I'm assuming another solar array from a different community. But I also know that that net metering program has been slowly being chopped up by the state. And I was curious where you're at. Did that come through? Is that closed or?
I don't think any of that is probably ever going to be closed. I think that we're going to be taking another look at that probably in the fall, how we fall into that and what we can do. We just put other things on it with the solar panels on our own, you know, on our town barn, highway department building, and we own, town of Barry owns a fair amount of land. At some point, we may be wanting to take a look at that, so that, and that sort of thing. So
The only reason why, you know, my curiosity about that is because I know that the state it has been slowly kind of dismantling that program. So I was curious where you're at now. But
Yeah.
We did enter into a contract with,
So you do
for
have
net
an
metering.
agreement?
We did. We currently have not received any credits, so to speak, on our utility bills. They were supposed to come online sometime in February. I know Phil had followed up, but I'm just not sure if the project, where it is. But we entered into an agreement, and it's a matter of just the credits starting to roll in. And we did add solar after that onto the town highway department's building, and we're currently looking at leasing, there's a town meeting article to lease space, so to speak, on the sewer department, which, as you know, the sewer and water is probably one of our highest electricity users outside of the buildings.
Oh, that's actually fantastic.
So electricity-wise, we've been set up to be in a good position. we could be better, but.
You will definitely see savings off that, that's
Mhm.
for sure. I know in Wilbraham, we've seen several $1,000 savings.
Mhm. Yeah, we're anticipating some savings, which is beneficial.
And then I also, with the, you had mentioned the regional planning director, I noticed in 2015 that kind of started, but I never kind of found out what happened.
Well, actually,
That's still,
that was in place for about a year and a half, and the person just resigned actually today. You got notice, so we're gonna be needing to set up probably a vendor. I believe Rutland is soliciting vendor quotes to do an IT person. We'll probably be buying IT equipment. Margaret Narkowitz from Rutland is sending me their request, so we can sort of see if we want to work with that, and also maybe enter into some sort of equipment, regional, well, at least joint IT equipment purchase. It's still, we just found out today, so he's going to be with us till the end of June, and then we need to sort of figure out how we're going to handle it from that point onward.
And then my other question is more of a generalized question for you as the board. In the past, have you done like, strategic and goal planning with the town administrator for the year. We've done kind of somewhat of a system like that, or?
I don't have that experience. I've only been here since last August. So
I
I would not be good to
apologize.
answer to that, so I apologize.
We hadn't, yeah, this basically a new board, more or less. I believe the previous board had been setting some goals with the town administrator, with Heather. And over the years, it has generally been the practice in Barry. I don't know, I think that is something that we might be looking to, as a stronger level of goal setting for our various departments, that sort of thing. I'm from the old school, I guess they used to call it management by objective, but.
You always come up with these different names. It's ever trendy.
But I think you know what I'm saying in terms of a business structure of this size. I happen to be a very strong believer in goal setting as a way of measuring how we're doing and stuff. Not so it's totally rigid that you have to stick with it every detail, but
Right.
I believe it looked to me like the previous board had been doing that with Heather and so on. That's pretty well been that way. I've been on and off a few times, and when I came on in 1987, there was a system in place for the town administrator and stuff that, a little different than what they do today, but, so there's pretty much a tradition for that, I guess you might say. With varying degrees of success, but, yeah, that thought has been around. I think over the years, Barry's been pretty progressive in its management.
That I can see.
Okay,
Your new buildings and all the work you've done.
okay.
Well, thank you all so very much.
Well,
I'm very appreciative
Yeah,
of this.
thank you for your interest in our town. We appreciate it very much. As you know, as I said, we do not have a strict timeline, but I think we would, like to wrap this up as soon as possible and get it through, so, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you, Candace.
Good to see you
We do
again.
have one, right back. Another meeting in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Time's well.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, we gotta go across town.
What?
DPW meeting.
Mhm.
10 minutes.
Did you guys want to do anything about the next meeting?
I like Thursday still.
Okay.
I don't know what you guys are thinking.
That's this Thursday?
I was hoping we'd do that unless we had a conflict. I think that was what I could make. That was our concern. If not, then.
Do we or do we
suggest-
not have another meeting scheduled for Monday?
We do.
So we do.
Regular scheduled
So
meeting.
No, I'm just trying to think it through.
Which if we sort this out Thursday, that'd be a good time to announce it would be Monday.
Thursday sounds good.
My suggestion would be to try to do Thursday. Monday, you may, you got two really, from our perspective, hard days coming up. You got the
Oh,
selectmen's
right,
meeting,
yeah.
and Tuesday night we have the town meeting, and whatever follow-up we've
Yeah, I
got
don't
going
want to push
on
this
and
to
stuff.
Monday.
So
Thursday
if we
works
could
for
do
me.
it Thursday, I think that would be,
Mhm.
for us.
What time would you be
not-
thinking?
6:15? Does that work for you guys, 6:15?
Make whatever time you guys need for it, so if something suits you better, don't push
Well,
yourself on it.
6 is just real difficult. I just gotta make,
Do it at 7, if that makes it easier. I'm
I
saying
still
don't-
like the idea of getting it done and going home.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I know, I would have to come back that night, just so you know.
And it-
does
'Cause I
that
do
work
have
for
an
you, or is it better to come back at
I have
7?
an appointment in the afternoon, so I could come back. I am heading out that way, so I could be on my return trip.
Does that work for you at 6:15, or is that gonna be a problem?
Yeah, 6:15 would be better than 7:15, because I would hate to have to go home and then come back.
Yeah,
But if that's
6:15.
what you guys want to do, that's fine.
Yep.
Let's do
Is that okay with you?
6:15 then.
Sure, 6:15 on Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay, and just a second follow-up question, would you be looking for me to post an executive session for you that night as well?
Well, this will be done. in
I would
executive
say,
session,
I would suggest yes. If we don't choose to use it, we can.
Right.
I would think
Remove
the
it, but-
deliberations would be in
What do we
executive
use it
session,
for?
won't they?
Preliminary
If we have to make an offer or something.
Deliberation.
Right, if
Actions
you
on
wanted
contract
to talk about
language.
salary, that
Then
type of
yes.
thing.
Right, and I don't know if we remember how we were doing it with the police chief, if you, just to make sure everything gets covered, if possible, hiring, did you want that, or you think it's too early?
I would put in possible vote.
What?
I would put in a possible vote on the
Yeah,
agenda.
just to cover everything, we don't
If
want
we
to.
all come together Thursday and end up already having the same person in mind,
Because even if we do,
Yeah, it doesn't mean
we should
that.
openly discuss all three before we
Yeah.
put that out there. I'd rather not tip our hands where we stand, and I'll just discuss maybe, my thought might be strengths and weaknesses we see in each of the three candidates, because
Yeah, I think that
can
might
certainly
be-
pick out strengths and weaknesses in all three. And if we get all those put up on the board and discuss all those issues, then we might want to put the ones we are
Yeah.
thinking of and see where we stand.
Cover, make sure.
Because that may,
Okay,
it may be, you look at things in a different perspective. You guys may bring up things that I'm not considering,
Okay.
and vice versa. And then we can have a good discussion about all of our questions and our,
okay.
I don't know, I'd be glad to make up a possible execution of that meeting for us, and things we might want to discuss. But
Okay.
I think our score sheets should be relevant. We can discuss those amongst ourselves and see how we scored them and why, and then bring up strengths and weaknesses. If we all come in with an idea of strengths and weaknesses, maybe two of each category for each person, it would give us a good place to start discussion on the candidates.
Okay,
Okay, so
Sound-
just discussion
sound
on candidates, a vote may be taken,
Possible vote.
yeah,
and
Possible
executive session.
Mhm.
yep.
I'll
Okay.
fix the language in the executive session tomorrow. I just posted it, but I don't.
You'll
I
reference
don't know
that
the
exemption thing for the
Yeah.
contract yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
okay.
Hello, sir.
I'm gonna try to put this in my calendar. That would be the 15th. I don't know
In your
how to do
Google
it.
Calendar,
Yes.
if I just send it to you, you can add it.
That'd be awesome, because I have no idea.
Um,
At least I have the Google Calendar now.
See?
IT's not my thing.
Forward information you received from Rutland regarding that IT thing?
I think it
Just-
was forwarded
did.
today.
Okay.
I did.
Well, I got his letter. I didn't, you mentioned she might be sharing info regarding a shared vendor or something to
Mm.
either fill in the interim or,
Forwarded it to you.
Yeah, there was.
did I miss that? Okay.
It may have been later in the day.
Right, and I may have just missed it because I was riding home.
All right.
I mean,
It
here,
was around 4:15,
same thing.
4:30.
Okay.
Okay, with that, is there anything else? We'll be meeting,
I have nothing else.
Thursday
Now we gotta
and
run
Monday.
down the hill.
Just before, he said that Margaret from the Rutland TA is sending her letter of solicitation as a model. It's possible we might collaborate on the equipment end. That's what he got.
So
at
they're,
quarter past.
yeah, they're soliciting vendors, and that's what she's sending us. They're going to be out,
Considering a vendor
soliciting for
arrangement for IT
vendors.
personnel services with a
not
separate one for
necessarily
equipment.
regional vendors.
Understood.
Yeah, correct?
Are
Phil?
they saying that,
Yeah, it doesn't say regional. It says they're considering a vendor arrangement for IT personnel services and a separate one for equipment. And then she's sending her solicitation as a model, so we might collaborate on the equipment end, but not the vendor end. So,
is she flat out saying that with Adam leaving, Rutland is leaving the agreement? Or is she saying she's pursuing this to gather information to find out if she's
Well, we're
in
the
a better
lead,
position to leave the agreement or not?
we're the lead on that.
Right, but again, it's just
So-
two dependent towns on each other to
Very
know what's going
preliminary,
on.
like Phil said, we just got it today. So we could,
they may just be pulling in some IT personnel to cover their tail, because obviously if Adam leaves, what else do we have right now? That's my first thought.
I got you, but like you said, it didn't sound like she was looking to share the vendor services, just the equipment, which didn't
Correct.
sound like she was looking to collaborate on an
It's-
interim
It's a strange
fill,
language.
and then refill the IT position and then continue
Well, I
moving
think Adam
forward.
was going to help us out beyond June 30th, during this transition period, but
Right,
I
his-
think
his
they're-
letter said he would
they
work
want to
out.
set up their own IT person through a vendor, and we have the option of doing that ourselves, but, you know, on a separate basis, and then we can collaborate on the equipment part of it. And I think the idea is that Rutland Dispatch will have their own vendor. It could be the same vendor, who knows yet, but I think Margaret wants to keep the IT person separate from the other communities.
So she wants to leave the agreement?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I was trying to find out, because she didn't just outright say that, but in her email.
We should try to make a point, if we can, to get Adam in one more time.
Mhm.
Find out where we stand, what projects he has ongoing, the level of completion,
Yeah.
and specifically what types of softwares and hardwares are involved, so that when we're looking for IT,
I think we should be able to have him into our Monday meeting.
that,
I think that's,
tough timing for, but we need to, I think, just at
Well,
least
we'll need a
start
complete
that.
list of contacts, as well as administration access and passwords, et cetera, that he has, so that if he leaves, he doesn't leave us without accessing our own network. So
Yeah.
we'll need all of that somehow
I mean,
put
I-
into something that your office would hold in secure
I think
fashion.
Adam's a professional, so I think that he would definitely
Yes.
provide us with some sort of an exit plan. But, you know, it's very preliminary, so I think the best thing to do.
Me asking this wasn't to imply he's not a
No, no, no,
professional.
no, I'm
I'm
just
sorry, I don't
saying
mean it that way.
No, I'm just saying it so
Okay.
publicly, you know, he is a
No,
professional.
Things we'll need to
and-
know, that we're not constantly calling
Yep.
Adam, things we'll need to know, you know, big boys and girls on our own,
Sure.
we'll need to get this information
I
from
think
them.
I can ask Adam if he's available to come into Monday's meeting,
Mm-hmm,
and then we can go from there.
okay.
That would be the best bet, because he would have those answers, so.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, motion to adjourn?
Okay,
Second?
we'll go down, we're gonna be adjourning to the DPW.
Okay. Maybe they won't start without us.